So, I work as a corporate lawyer for one of the best law firms in my state. I started working at my current law firm while I was in college itself. The firm hired 2 interns every year from my university. It was a very competitive internship, and everyone in the class worked very hard to get it. The selection process first shortlisted 10 candidates based on our grades. Then we had to sit for individual and group interviews. This brought it down to 4 candidates. The last round consisted of all 4 of us handling a mock case to be presented in front of the selection committee. It was a very grueling selection process, so I was very happy and proud to be selected. As glad as I was to be working at such a prestigious law firm, it was hard to juggle law school and the internship together, but actually gaining professional experience from influential lawyers was worth its weight in gold. The internship mostly consisted of doing paperwork and conducting research with the help of paralegals, but once we proved ourselves, we were able to be more involved in cases by sitting in on client interviews and depositions. After just a couple of months at the firm, I was sure that I wanted to work there itself after I graduated. I put a lot of effort and hard work into proving myself to be an attractive prospective employee. During a tough case, I was able to find a clause in the paperwork that led us to win in court, after which I was told that there would be a job offer waiting for me after I graduated. I graduated top of my class and immediately started working at the same law firm. I started from the position of a lowly associate and worked my way up to my current position of junior partner. Our firm's clientele consists of some of the biggest companies in the country, so I'm not going to share any identifying information to maintain attorney-client privilege. So, a couple of months ago, I was assigned to a case involving fraud and theft by an employee, and I was representing the company against the aforementioned employee who was suing the company for wrongful termination. I had to go through the employee contract and find the clause which stated that the company retained the right to terminate any employee who was suspected of theft or fraud. I also had to provide proof that the employee in question did in fact engage in theft. The employee had just been looking for a payout since they knew that they would be proven guilty, but with my work, I was able to get that employee to discard the idea of a lawsuit entirely. The CEO was very impressed with my work and actually recommended a client to me. He had me meet the CEO of a hedge fund who suspected one of his employees for engaging in insider trading. He wanted me to find out who the employee was discreetly without alarming any other employee, so as to not alert their clients who could sue the company. I agreed to take him and his company on as a client. He explained that they had been seeing multiple instances of clients wanting to make and sell out investments based on information that was not public. It meant that someone from the inside the company was feeding them non-public information, which they were then using to make a profit. The CEO wanted to nip the situation in the bud before the news reached the shareholders. He wanted me to go to his company and figure out who out of the 5 employees that handled the accounts in question was the one leaking the information. The job would require a lot of subtlety and thus would be difficult, but the thought of that many billable hours made it seem worth it. So, the next day, I went into the hedge fund to try and figure out who the employee was that was committing fraud. I had a meeting with the CEO and some of the other higher-ups in the company who were the only other people who knew that this was going on. I had to figure out how to get the information without alerting any of the 5 employees that the company was onto them, so that they didn't destroy any evidence. I decided to pretend to be an HR employee just conducting a routine appraisal. When I met the employees, I informed them that the HR department was conducting company-wide appraisals, and I had been assigned to handle the appraisals for their department. 4 of the employees were very understanding and calm about the situation, but one of them got very angry and started saying that she didn't want to be bothered by some lackey on a power trip and then stalked off. I let her go and instead spoke to the other 4 employees individually. Honestly, they all gave the right answers and didn't seem suspicious at all. When they all went to lunch, I also went through their workstations but didn't find anything incriminating. At that point, the only suspect was the woman from earlier. I'll call her Karen, since the name suits her so well. The fact that she had immediately gotten angry at me when she heard about the appraisal made it seem like she had something to hide. While she was away at lunch, I decided to go through her desk. Initially, I didn't find anything until I saw that under a false bottom in her desk drawer had photocopies of the slips that had the trading information that were supposed to be turned in at the end of the day. A folder on her computer that was named Filing Info had a spreadsheet of the dodgy dealings the CEO had told me about. I had just finished gathering the proof on my USB when Karen returned from lunch. When she saw me at her desk, she got very angry and started shouting. She asked me what the hell I thought I was doing. I reminded her that I had already told her that I would be conducting her appraisal, and so I was just doing my job. She started saying that I had no authority to go through her stuff because I was basically a glorified secretary, and I should actually be following her orders. She told me that she could get me fired with a snap of her fingers. Given the fact that I was about to inform the CEO that she was the employee that they were looking for, that's something that would have her fired without any semblance of a severance package, her saying that she could get me fired actually made me laugh. She looked really angry that I was laughing, but I couldn't help myself. I told her that she was very mistaken about thinking that she had any authority over me. She said that I clearly didn't know that she handled some of the biggest clients of the hedge fund, and if she asked for me to be fired, then I would be because she was more valuable to the company. I realized that this was an opportunity to get her to admit what she had been doing, so I surreptitiously started recording on my phone, and I asked her why she had been entrusted with the biggest clients of the company. I guess she wanted to brag because she started telling me that all the richest clients preferred her because she knew how to make them the most money. I asked her why she was the one who would make them the most money, and she told me that it was because she understood the business better than anybody else at the company. She said that it was because she knew that making a profit came before worrying about where the information she gave her clients was coming from. I put on a shocked expression and asked her if she had been passing on non-public information to her clients. I couldn't believe my ears when she just admitted her wrongdoings right to my face. She told me that as long as both her and the clients were making money, what did it matter whether the information was publicly traded or not? I informed Karen that what she was doing was insider trading and it was illegal. And she just laughed and said that that was my point of view, and if I ever told anyone, she would just accuse me of lying since she had covered her tracks really well. As someone who found evidence of what she had been doing in 15 minutes, I couldn't believe her stupidity. I told her that she should just come clean to her boss and get out in front of the whole situation instead of waiting to be fired because she would get caught sooner or later. She just laughed and said that she would never get caught because the clients would never rat her out since the situation benefited them both. The clients made money, and she got a percentage of their profit. She said that I was the only person who knew, and since she was just about to get me fired, I was nobody to worry about. I encouraged her to call her boss to get me fired, and while she was doing that, I texted the CEO to come to where I was since I had found the employee who was engaging in fraud. Karen's boss arrived first. She had been one of the few higher-up employees who knew what I had really been doing at the company. When she arrived, I shook my head at her to let her know not to give away my identity. When Karen saw her, she started shouting, saying that I was stealing from her desk under the guise of conducting an appraisal, and that if I wasn't fired on the spot, she would quit and take her clients with her to her next company. The CEO also arrived soon, and he came and asked us what was going on. Karen had started to spew her lies again, but I cut her off and told the CEO that I had found the fraud, and it was Karen. She started shouting that I was lying and was trying to frame her, but I started taking out all the proof I had gathered. I showed everyone the photocopied slips hidden in her desk and the spreadsheets on her computer. And last but not least, I played the recording of her admitting to insider trading. It was hilariously satisfying to see Karen's jaw drop when she realized that I was fully prepared to take her down. She started protesting, but the CEO fired her on the spot and told her that he would be reporting her to the appropriate authorities for insider trading. The CEO then told me that he was very glad to have me as the company's lawyer and gave me their whole account, which would really benefit my firm. My bosses were also very impressed with me, and just last week I was promoted to the position of senior partner, so all's well that ends well. Summer is here and temperatures are approaching over 85 degrees Fahrenheit on the hotter days. I'm located in Northern Europe, which means that this crap is hot for us. And to top it off, the humidity is off the charts. Leave a cold beverage out on the table for a minute or two, and it's condensing as hard as I am sweating. Puddles underneath and all. We don't have air conditioning at my office, and probably never will. When the weather gets like this, the office turns into a steam sauna, or at least a close approximation, and there's nothing we can do about it. We survive it the best we can by wearing fewer clothes. At normal temperatures, we wear the typical professional garb. But when the temperature rises, it is typically light dresses and skirts for the women and shorts for men. The unspoken rule was to just keep the designs professional. No Bermuda shorts, bikinis, or clothes with eye-searing colors. Normal common sense stuff. However, this year, shorts are suddenly a problem. If you have never experienced the glory of arbitrary rule changes before, then I envy you. With that bit of context, Summer Legs will get on with the malicious compliance. What happened is we got a new manager during the start of the year, and apparently this new manager has new manager ideas. Without warning, a couple of days into steam sauna at work season, the new manager decided that shorts were unprofessional. And in short order, he ordered the men in the office to go back to wearing heat stroke-inducing long pants. No meetings, no talking with the people in the office first, no different alternative, just, here are your new guidelines, have a nice day, kind of situation. Sent out over mail, of course, shortly before end of day. The new rules were to take effect immediately. Now, I was none too pleased by this, and come next day, I find out that neither were the rest of the men in the office. Mostly because each and every man went from being uncomfortably hot to now sporting his own little steam oven, and in the privacy of his pants, steaming a 2 buns and 2 egg combo. Grumbles were had all around. It should be said that when I think something is unfair, I can get a bit confrontational, and I won't take just because as a good enough explanation. Basically, I don't play nice with arbitrary rules. As such, during the first day after the rule change, I found a moment to press the new manager for a real explanation. As such things have a tendency to do, after a bit of back and forth, I was finally presented with his reason. Shorts are unprofessional because no one wants to look at hairy man legs. I honestly didn't know what to say to that at first, because how do you argue against stupid? Stupefied was the most fitting way to describe my state of mind after that bomb. As I went on with the rest of the day, I tried to figure out how to get this insane rule changed, because I was sure as hell not going to suffer more than necessary during the whole summer. I went to my buddy to get his take on it, and, to no surprise, he agreed with my take. The new manager was just power tripping, or similarly, changing rules for no good reason. Now, the question became how to get under his skin and pull him down a peg or two. If you have never dealt with the type of person the new manager is, then I can tell you that showing disrespect to their authority is the best way to get under their skin, and pointing out their stupidity publicly is the easiest way to enact change. Of course, with the additional added benefit of painting a target on your back. After a good half hour, my buddy had helped me cobble a plan together, and off I went to set it into motion. First, I got confirmation on the reasons for no shorts. Basically, had a new manager confirm over the mail that shorts were not allowed and unprofessional because of hairy man legs. Then that evening, I set to it at home, getting ready for wearing shorts to work the next day. When the next day came around, I peacocked into the office wearing shorts. In no time at all, the new manager was on my case, and, in typical new manager style, He gave me a dress down in front of my coworkers. While he did this, I was fighting to not let a grin surface on my face. I think that humans are amazing in many different ways. One of which is that we don't always pay all that much attention to the details of mundane things, and, as such, can gloss over them with ease. But once your attention has been drawn to something, you basically can't ignore it or unsee it. After the new manager was done stroking his ego, I broke. I could not hold in my smile anymore. With the biggest grin on my face, I pointed to my legs and said, "But I shaved my legs." I think that broke the new manager for a full 10 seconds. He just kind of stood there taking it all in, really looking at my legs, then looking back and forth between my legs and face a couple of times. You could see him trying really hard to make sense of what happened while my coworkers snickered in the gallery. After he kind of got his bearings again, I pointed out that the problem with shorts were hairy man legs, and as they were no longer hairy, shorts should no longer be a problem. I wish I could tell you that it devolved into an epic meltdown. The new manager was so far up his own butt that he was immune to reason and would ignore his own previous statement about professional wear and shorts. That the power battle in the office devolved into battle for who would get the other fired. That didn't happen. Instead, after a short while, still surrounded by the majority of the office staff, the new manager declared that men could go back to how it used to be. I haven't suffered any retaliation as of yet, and it seemed that it was not going to happen, which is good. It is also the gift that keeps on giving because I keep seeing the new manager's eyes darting down to my manly shaved legs every now and again when I interact with him. I find it absolutely hilarious, and I'm honestly considering keeping them shaved until it stops demanding his attention. I have acquired a new nickname in the office, which I guess is all in good fun. Many of my coworkers have taken it upon themselves to call me Summer Legs.